Hello, everyone. My name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness. Welcome. I am excited to be here today. I have a special guest that I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while now. And wait till you hear the name of her podcast, because that in it of itself is going to catch your attention. So without further ado, let me introduce her. Her name is Miss Heather Gray. Hello, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
So good. I'm so glad to have you on this show today. I've been looking forward to this conversation. I did my research after we first talked, and I was like, okay, she and I, we can talk some health here. But I would love for you to share a bit about yourself first and your own wellness journey.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, I'll start off by, not keeping them in suspense too long. The podcast is called Talking Shit. And it's because, right, typically practitioners like myself have their own shit story, right? Or we call it shit storm, right? It's that what got us, why we want to help people the way we do. And I'll get into a little bit of mine here in a little bit, but it's usually about that dark, taboo shadow side that a lot of people aren't talking about. And so in order to heal, right, you got to bring stuff out of the darkness and into the light. So it's kind of a tongue in cheek. So there's that part of the shit story. And then the other part is, literally talking about poo, because I am a practitioner, and one of my favorite subjects is coffee enemas and how amazing they are, and talking about parasites and bacteria and yeast and how many bowel movements you had a day. And I actually got to interview and talk with a woman last week who owns a coffee enema like surplus online store, and she does videos, and so we really got to talk some shit, and it was so exciting. Sorry, I got a little excited. But yeah, it's if the plumbing's not working, nothing else really works, right? And so it's a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I remember actually after getting introduced to coffee enemas, and I was just singing their praise to anybody who would listen, and it used to drive my ex-husband bonkers. And we were at a 4th of July party or something, and I started talking about it again. But the people typically, they lean in, right? Because I think instinctively, intuitively, we kind of understand. I mean, and enemas have been around since the Egyptians were doing enemas.
Exactly.
So I think intuitively, a lot of people, but it's just not something they talk about, right? It's not something you hear about. So now here you got this big mouth woman at a barbecue party talking about coffee enemas, So yeah, that's me. I digress though. So, well, let's talk some more poo. So yeah, my story starts right around the age 3 or 4. I swear to God, I was born constipated.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I remember sitting on the potty, your feet can't quite touch the ground, so they're dangling, and my feet would fall asleep from sitting on the potty too long trying to make something happen, right? My mom would and the doctors were giving me like these thick, gross, nasty oils, laxatives, all this other stuff, so at a very early age, I was already getting used to Band-Aids on symptoms, right? Not let's figure out the root cause of why this 4-year-old is constipated, right?
Yeah.
So fast forward many, many years, and trauma, lots of childhood trauma, which a combination of, I found out later I had celiac disease, and I didn't get diagnosed until I was like 37, 38.
Oh my goodness.
So a lifetime of celiac disease, early childhood trauma, right? Kind of made me this perfect host. So then when I was 13 and bit by a tick and developed Lyme disease, it really kicked my butt for a very long time. And so I actually was like 27 years undiagnosed Lyme disease, celiac, Hashimoto's, endometriosis, 2 stints to the psych ward for suicide attempts. So yeah, I was a bit of a hot mess, and it was shortly after getting my diagnosis of Lyme disease and going the traditional route, right? The doctors just throwing napalm at the critters, but not once doing anything to bring up the host, right? And I thought they were trying to kill me. Like I had a very deep, sick feeling in my stomach that if I kept going that route, that I wasn't going to make it. And so that's when I started kind of researching alternative methods. And I remember hearing the founder of FDN, which is the certification I went through. He was on a podcast called Underground Wellness with Sean Croxton. And they were talking about healing the gut, right? Detoxifying your body, balancing your hormones, and, removing other hidden stressors from the body so that the body can
Mhm.
take over and do what it's meant to do, right? And it just really made sense to me. And so I knew that this was going to be, like my missing puzzle piece. And sure enough, I went through the program and graduated back in 2013. Um, it wasn't a nice little linear shot like I hoped it would be, because
Of
shortly
course
after
not.
graduating, yeah, I went through a divorce and blew
Uh,
up my life and blew up my business and kind of went on this other spiritual, emotional, relationship path, right? Because it's
mhm.
all connected, right?
It is. Thank you.
It's all connected, and
Mhm.
even like this last year or so, I I went off of my good eating. I went off of my how to, I stopped taking care of myself how I learned how, right? And
Mhm.
I went back to set point. I went back to square one. I was gaining weight again. I was in chronic excruciating pain. My gut wasn't working again. I was back to being constipated. My brain wasn't working. I was reactive and moody. And it was it was right around this time last year where my husband now, God bless his soul, says, "Heather, I don't know what's going on with you, but I'm not going to stay married to an angry person for very much longer." He's like, "You need to figure this out." And it was a huge wake up call to dig a little deeper again, right? So
Mhm.
that's back when I went back and did the same kind of stuff I did before. We're looking at food sensitivities, healing the gut, but this time I added a whole nother layer, and it was somatic experiencing work and healing trauma, right? Because trauma,
Yeah.
whether it's from chronic disease, mold, environmental
Mhm.
toxins, early childhood trauma, war, divorce, it all gets stuck in the nervous system and it all damages and inflames the brain the same way. And so if you're just getting focused on the physical, you're going to end up back at set point. You're going to end up back at set point because you
Yeah.
never address that trauma in your nervous system. And so that's the huge piece that I've been playing with this last year, and how I like working with people that are a little different than a lot of other functional practitioners out there,
Mhm.
who are just focused on the physical. But, through my own trial and error, I learned that that'll only take you so far.
I'm really glad that you mentioned that because, that's the I find it an issue when we don't deal with the entire person and we're only taking care of, like you said, either the symptoms or even just the physical. It's like, okay, we do keep our issues in our tissues. I didn't obviously come up with that saying,
Oh, but I love it.
but but it's true. And if you don't take care of that, everything affects everything else. It's like a kiddie pool. Once you throw something in, it goes everywhere. So you can't separate it out. It's like, yeah, it's like blood. Blood goes everywhere.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So that's
Yeah, and I don't claim to be the expert with a lot of that stuff, and a lot of times I know just enough to get my clients started, and I've also
Mhm.
tried to work on, like finding a referral based program, because I don't hold all the tools and I don't want to.
Yeah.
I really kind of like staying in my lane. I love functional medicine. There's always so much more to learn. Like, behind me, my desk is just stacked with the next
Mhm.
program, the next thing to dig deeper in, the next thing to dig deeper in. So that sort of stuff, like I said, in my program, I've added some sprinkling of it, right? Just
Mhm.
enough to kind of help people get out of fight or flight, help them shift gears a little bit, because we can't
Yeah.
heal if we're stuck with the gas on all the time.
Exactly. Well, I like that too, that you're not trying to be a one-stop shop
Yeah.
because it kind of dilutes what you're trying to do too. It's not that one part is more important than another. It's just that there's more to it than maybe, just one little bit. So, for those that are watching and aren't really familiar with what functional medicine is, can you explain what it is and how it's different from Western?
Absolutely. So one of the biggest things that functional practitioners do differently than say Western is our lab ranges. So
Mhm.
if you look at a typical lab range, so like say vitamin D, I think, what is it? I'm trying to remember. Western medicine's lab range for vitamin D is, I think, 15 to 30,
Mm.
right? And if you think about it, they pooled like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
How many people do you know these days that aren't ill, that are functioning at 100%, right? So that makes that number skewed. So we
Mm-hmm.
found in order for people to get better, we actually have to bump those numbers up. And so like functional ranges for vitamin D is between 60 and 80, right? So a lot of my clients that are coming in with 30 and it looks normal
Uh-huh.
lab ranges, that no, that's not normal. That's like scraping the bottom of the barrel. Like for you to be functioning properly,
Yeah.
we want you between 60 and 80. So that's one reason that kind of sets one way that sets us apart. The other way is I'm looking at food sensitivities. I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking for parasites, bacteria, and yeast. I'm looking at an advanced thyroid panel. I'm looking at, so these functional labs to dig deeper, looking for hidden stressors. Because again, we're big, strong believers that if you remove the hidden stressors and you allow that burden off the body, it
Yes.
knows what to do, right? It'll kick in the immune system. With my history with Lyme, so many people, that's where they want to focus on. Well, what did you do to get rid of the Lyme?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that's what killed me. It was building up my body, building up my immune system and removing the
Mm-hmm.
stressors. I didn't actually have to deal with the Lyme much after that because my own body kept it in check.
Exactly, because you went to the root. You didn't deal with all the symptoms and what you were. I mean, that's how it got there in the first place, because your body couldn't necessarily fight it off. I love that you talk about that, and I love the idea of, talking about the labs because, that whole thing of like this is the normal range. Well, normal range for who, like you said, first of all. And also the other thing too is, yeah, maybe that's in the normal range because you got to pick numbers, but that doesn't mean optimal. It never has.
Thank you. Absolutely. If I had a dime for every single person who came to me and said, I went to the doctor and he said all my labs are normal, but you
Yeah.
obviously feel anything but, right? So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And also like you said, who are these people that, these numbers came from? Are they like you even? Are they you? Probably not you because, you just got them done. So that's not your optimal. And that's what I love about functional medicine in particular, because it really takes the individual and looks at them as opposed to let's put you into this chart and fit you into a diagnosis. And then, okay, this is how we're going to deal with the symptoms of this diagnosis. I am not saying that there isn't space and room for Western medicine as well. I totally believe that there is. I'm just saying that there's a lot missing from it. Like, the difference between maybe a dietitian and a nutrition coach, for example. They both do different things, but they're similar.
Right.
So what do you find to be the most satisfying about helping people in functional medicine?
Well, and thank you for that differentiation. I mean, when it comes to Western med, I'm not knocking it either by any means. Like, I mean, if I were to get into a car accident and get all banged up, like Western med, absolutely 100% all the way, right? It'll put me back together, bionic woman. But when it comes to chronic disease and disease prevention, sadly, it lacks.
Yeah.
But the differentiation, so even in the functional medicine world, and it pisses me off and it makes me so sad sometimes, is they will sometimes act no different than their, Western med, counterparts with chasing, putting band-aids on symptoms. If I had a dime for every person who was leery of working with someone like me, because they're like, I talked to someone like you before and they put me on $3,000 worth of supplements, patted me on the head and sent me out the door. Right. How is that any different than going to a doctor and having them just put you on a prescription? Right.
Yeah.
Like a true health coach, a true functional, practitioner is going to ask you, what's your stress level like? And what are you doing to take care of it? How are you sleeping at night? And how can we improve that? What are you eating? What are you thinking? What's the quality of water you're drinking? Like I dig in deep to a person's life and like all these different rocks, we're looking under, because all of them contain clues and answers, right? To why it is you're feeling the way that you're feeling. And so if you don't have somebody who's teaching you lifestyle, right, then they're doing a disservice to the name.
Exactly. And I think that that's a really good point too, because, not every practitioner is created equal. And that's a very, very good point, because if you end up with somebody that isn't good, doesn't mean you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. It just means that person's not for you.
Right. For sure.
But I like that idea too of, that might be a warning sign that you're not with the right person if they're just trying to like throw all these supplements at you without even really addressing how you're living.
Exactly. Absolutely. I remember I had a business coach one time, and he thought he was doing me a favor by he got me into working at with a, oh man, why am I forgetting the name of? It doesn't matter. He was a sleep doctor.
Oh, okay.
But he also did some other things, and he was a DO. And my business coach thought he was doing me this great, deal. I got you in with this doctor. It's going to be amazing. He's going to fit you into his his practice, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sweet. I get there and he has me shadow with him. And the first client right off the bat, the girl is like, oh, I got bit by a tick and I got a bullseye rash. And, I took 2 weeks of Doxy. Should I be worried about anything else? No, you'll be fine. I thought my head was going to explode. And then she's talking about a couple of other things. And I watched him write her 5 prescriptions in that 10-minute time. And 4 of those could have been dealt with just lifestyle changes alone. Like I thought my head was going to explode. And then I went and called my business coach and chewed him a new, what? So I was like, what were you thinking? And he's like, what better way to change the system than from the inside? I'm like, this dude's been practicing medicine for 35 years. You think he's going to change the way that he practices because of me? I'm like, that's adorable. And get me out of here. This is like my own personal hell.
You're like, I am a superwoman, but I am not a superhero. I cannot go in and change somebody and save the day.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be extremely frustrating. But I think that you bring up a good point because, a lot of the times these medicines, they can get rid of the symptoms, but you're also introducing something foreign into your body that doesn't belong there. So what is that doing to you as well? Like what else are you throwing off by adding in something else?
That's one of the biggest problems is that when they come up with this stuff, they're not thinking about downstream and long-term effects, and they're just flat putting it out there. I mean, have you seen any of those dang commercials? Side effects include.
My personal favorite is for depression, and it's like may cause suicidal thoughts. Excuse me. This is for depression.
Did you know that we are like one of 2 countries that are actually allowed to market directly to consumers? Oh, wow. The rest of the world actually has banned that. There are only 2 countries has pharmaceutical ads like that. And then now I started hearing them on the radio. I mean, they're everywhere. It's disgusting.
It is disgusting. And, I happen to work in the pharmaceutical industry. I worked in long-term care pharmacy and retail pharmacy. And I did all of that stuff. And, I will say this, and this is for the audience because people don't really realize, and, doctors are good at what they're good at, but medicines are not their forte. And so they know what the drug reps tell them and what the drug reps teach them. But if you have questions about the medicine that you're taking that was, prescribed to you, maybe you should ask your pharmacist first because they're going to be the ones that are going to tell you. I can't even tell you how many times I've caught mistakes as a pharmacy technician that doctors have made and that have almost killed people. So, it's just like, you got to understand who to ask. You don't go to the tire shop to buy bread. So anyway, enough about that, but
I'm glad to know that you're recovering and you've gotten out of the dark side.
Yes. And there's times when there's acute things that and they work, but honestly, if you have the time to actually heal yourself and that's what you're after, I just feel personally, and I think that you would agree with me, that the Western medicine is more of a sick care system as opposed to a healthcare system. Like they're there to treat you when you're sick and it doesn't necessarily make you healthy.
Absolutely.
So I'm curious too, for somebody that, maybe, we're going to talk about what you're up to something new, but we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But for somebody who maybe doesn't have the opportunity to, I don't know, if they're looking for somebody that can help them, if they are looking for a functional practitioner, what are things that they should be asking? What types of questions should they be asking?
Is there more to the program than supplements and labs? I mean, easy right there. Because if not, then they're just treating the paper, right?
Yes.
Which is, again, no different than really, allopathic medicine, where they're going to throw, prescription drugs at Band-Aids, how long is the program? Because I remember the first time I went to see an acupuncturist, I had no idea that people could take this many supplements at once. And there was no instructions on how to take them. There was no hand holding of any kind. He gladly took my money, rang me up and sent me out the door. And I remember chewing him a new, a couple days later after I felt horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, you're not supposed to start taking them all at once. Well, that would have been nice to know. You didn't tell me what to do. You gave me a bag full of pills and you sent me out the door, So now find out what exactly is included and what they're, I have a guarantee. I don't know a whole lot of coaches that do. And it's because, I know dang well, if you show up and do the work the way I've laid it out for you, you will absolutely feel better. The only people who don't are the people who disappear, or they don't follow through with the food. They think it's like a la carte and that you can pick and choose, but there's a reason that the program works. There's the reason it works is because it takes all these different pieces working together in concert, right, to get the body better. And they're like, oh, well, I'm going to do this, but I'm not going to do the supplement. Well, okay, that's fine. You just took what would take 3 months to heal, a year and a half now to heal, because,
Yeah. And that's the thing too, that people don't, we live in a microwave society where we want things right this moment. And sometimes it takes a while to heal. I mean, think about like a cut even, like a cut can take a long time to heal, especially if you're already not well, but
I mean, people that come to me are like me a lot of times, and they've been sick for decades. And then a lot of times I get frustrated within like the first month or two. I completely changed everything and I'm not feeling any better. Dude, you got to give it a little bit more time. Like, great start, and you got to stick with it, right?
Yeah, don't quit before the miracle happens.
Absolutely. And just stick with it. And so that's what I tell them. If you show up and you do the program laid out and we aren't getting the results that you think that you should need at the end of the 90 days, I will continue to work with you until we do. Because a lot of times maybe we got to dig even deeper, right? Maybe it's some stuff in your genetics and we're having some detox pathway issues, or maybe we've got some, mold in your house, or you've got, mold in your sinuses that we didn't address, or, there's all kinds of, and that's a cool thing by someone who loves to geek out and research all the time, is because I'm constantly looking for even more areas to look at and to include, granted, you can only do so much in a 90-day program.
But here's the thing that I like about what you in particular is that you say, okay, this is how long it's going to take. And for me, I'm like, all right, but if you don't give me like an end time or when I should expect something, and then maybe we have to reevaluate at that point. But at least now I know. Okay, 90 days and I should have some results. Okay, cool. As long as I do what I'm told.
Exactly.
I'm golden. All right, let's do it.
Can't be a la carte in it. Nope.
No. Yeah, like I'm going to do this, but not. Yeah. Well, that's where I get into trouble, because I'm like, no, I don't think I always intend to like do supplements, and then I never do.
That's why I included the first bottle of supplements into my program cost, because I got so sick of people skipping that piece. And it's such a powerful piece. A lot of us, especially those of us with leaky guts and have been sick a long time, we're very deficient in a lot of minerals and vitamins and key things that need to be working properly, so we got to put that stuff back while we're trying to heal.
Amen to that. All right. So on that note, we're going to go to commercial break. All right. We'll be back in just a minute, Miss Heather. All right. For those of you who are watching us live, hello, a special hello to you. And as I mentioned, we do need to go to commercial break. So we will be right back after these messages. Are you someone who is struggling to move forward because you suffered a loss? Maybe you're even finding it difficult to complete the most basic tasks. Are you looking for a way to start enjoying life again without feeling guilty or the resistance to do so? Spiritual life coach Sarah Stockham saw a need for people who haven't learned how to grieve without putting their entire lives on pause. And so she created a program that solves this issue called Choosing Life Right Now. This program is simple and you can do it on your own. If you are ready to learn how to feel your grief while still being able to smile, to honor the sacredness of what took place as a loss, and yet still continue to live with joy, and if you'd like to take care of your whole being with grace and love, then I'd like to invite you to experience her new program called Choosing Life Right Now. Sarah is currently offering her program for the promotional price of $77, but it won't stay at this price for long. To learn more, check out her website. The address is on the screen.
When drug or alcohol addiction take over, things begin to disappear. Your friends, your family, and eventually, you. Recommended by Dr. Phil, New Method Wellness can help get your life back with individualized treatment plans for dual diagnosis clients. New Method Wellness provides the most highly credentialed treatment in a safe and welcome environment. Call New Method Wellness for your free consultation and ask about our national accreditations. Together, we can put the pieces back together.
Now, you can vibrationally align your aura. You can gain a larger and spiritual perspective on life, relationships, God, people, wellness, and money. You can also have moments of meditation and reflection any time of the day. And reading the thrilling, adventurous, and mystical story of Shaga will just add more faith to your daily experience of the mystery of the universe.
Welcome back, everyone. If you're just joining us now, my name is Julianne Meyer, and I am the host of Own Your Wellness, and today's guest is Heather Gray. Let's bring her back. Hello, welcome back.
Hey, thanks.
So we sort of barely tapped and touched on this 90-day program before the commercial break that you are doing. So I'd love for you to talk about that. I'm assuming that this is the place that we go to sign up.
That's not the place that you go to sign up, but it's a great place to go to get on the Calendly, and my email and all the other fun stuff. It's a great place to go find testimonials and watch other videos that I've done, and some episodes of Talking Shit are up there. And yeah.
Yay! So that's awesome. So to find out more about you and to work with you, this is the place to go.
For sure.
Awesome. So let's talk about this 90-day program you got coming up.
Yeah, it's called Discovering Hope.
Ooh.
Right?
Okay.
Discovering Hope, a 90-day personalized health transformation. Find your focus, reduce chronic pain, lose unwanted fat, and address embarrassing gut issues in 90 days or less.
I like that. And it's all interconnected, as we mentioned. So I like the idea of, being able to one-stop shop.
Ish. Yeah.
Well, the thing is too that people don't really think about, especially with gut health in particular, is, most of our serotonin is created there. So if your gut health is off, no wonder you're unhappy.
I talk about all the time. I'm like, if you got a leaky gut, you got a leaky brain.
Exactly. And there's a saying in AA that they have that I'm not a huge fan of. I worked in the addiction arena for about 6 years, so I'm familiar with a bunch of this stuff. But one of the things that they say is you're as sick as your secrets.
Oh, absolutely.
And, that's why I think it's so important to talk about our poop or our gut health. Those are all the things that nobody wants to talk about, but it can literally kill you. I mean,
literally.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm curious, and maybe this is just, an individual type of question, like per person, but how many times a day should you be pooping?
At least once. It's sad. I actually did a webinar that you can find on YouTube, and it's called Talking Shit, the shocking truth about chronic constipation. And it's sad because the FDA or the Western medicine model says that they don't consider constipation until it's like 4 days, a bowel movement every 4 days. And I was like, no. You're toxic at that point. Like you should not be having 1 to twice a day.
That's the thing. That's an important part too, is it's literally toxins that you're keeping inside of your body. So how long do you want to keep poison inside of your body?
Right.
You're
And
trying
then
to get rid of it for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Then it starts to recirculate, and then you start having issues with your liver, and then that causes issues with your hormones, and then that causes issues with your blah, blah, blah. Like people just, they don't understand and realize how important it is to get the shit out. Yeah.
So my question too is, I actually have a friend that has, I don't know, she's been to doctors and all of this, but she literally can't poop for days and days and days and days on end, and has tried just about everything, including changing her diet, and nothing seems to work. So I'm just wondering, but the one thing I don't think she's really done is seen a functional practitioner. So maybe that should be something that she should consider.
Well, yeah, because it's if she's a completely sedentary lifestyle, you're going to have a hard time, because we need movement to get our lymph moving and our guts moving and other things moving. How much water is she drinking, and what kind of water is she drinking?
That's a really good point.
Is she emotionally constipated?
Yeah.
Right. What is she talking about? What is she holding on to? So there's lots of different things to
and she's not the only one. That's kind of why I wanted to bring it up, because what you just said can apply to so many people.
Oh, absolutely.
These are all questions that people can ask themselves. They're like, but it's like, we don't think about, but we really do. Even the way we speak, we talk about, how our feelings actually feel in our body, like being scared, scared shitless. Or, I could feel, I was sick to my stomach. We literally feel our emotions in our body. They manifest. So why would it be so strange to think that maybe part of our problem is something that we're holding on to emotionally? I think that that's such a valid point. I'm so glad that you brought that up. What are some other things that you've noticed with people that tend to be, there always seems to be certain like through lines, if that makes sense. Certain things that a lot of people struggle with. What are some things that people come to you a lot for?
Sleep. It seems like nobody's sleeping right these days are enough, and that's one of those get back to basics type of thing. Just because we have all these blue lights on and we can stay up till 2 o'clock in the morning, it doesn't mean we're made to do so. Especially with the blue lights, the blue and the green lights actually degrade our melatonin. It keeps our body. We don't only bring in light from our eyes, but our skin absorbs it as well. And so if we're around all these lights all day long, especially into the evening hours, and then we wonder why when we go to bed, we're laying there wide awake, it's because we never got that signal to our body that, hey, the sun has gone down. Now it's time to bring up melatonin for you to be able to go to sleep. So something simple like blue blocking glasses and different light bulbs, in your lamps. At night we just turn off all the lamps and just, we watch TV for about an hour before bed with our blue blocking glasses on. And that helps out immensely. So many people have got these electronics plugged in, right next to their head, right next to their brain. Horrible. Yeah. Our bodies need a break from these EMFs, so there's just, some little, again, like lifestyle hacks that add up to big wins, right? Big wins, because the problem with, like I said, I really dive deep into autoimmune and mental health issues. And autoimmune, like 98% of them are lifestyle diseases, right? So once we fix and look at lifestyle, these things, people are just shocked at, oh, wow, I'm not on prescriptions anymore, and I'm functioning, and I don't need 10 cups of coffee a day. And what?
Exactly. And a lot of people don't realize too that, when their coffee stops working, it's because they're dehydrated. First of all, they need to drink more water.
That's the other question I get all the time too. And I tell them, okay, you need half your weight in ounces. Well, is coffee included in that? Absolutely not. That's pure water.
And that's the thing that, I think is kind of fascinating that I always love to talk about is when people talk about how they hate water, I'm like, you do realize that you are mostly made up of water. So you are literally saying that you hate yourself. That's what you're literally saying. Your body hears that whether you know it or not.
Right. Well, then you get into Dr. Emoto's work, right?
Yes. Oh, I love him.
Yeah. And water is just so fascinating to me, and all the experiments with the crystals and, saying horrible things compared to saying beautiful things, and how it changed the pattern of the, water is fascinating, and good water. So I have, at some point I would like a whole house, different type of system. But for right now, I have a Berkey. And I used to work on a ranch a couple summers ago, and one of the girls ran out of her water. And so I gave her a drink of mine. And she said it was like her body came online in a way that she, like almost like coffee, like she got energy and she could think. And she knocked at my door the next day and with like empty water bottles and was like, can I please have some of your magical water? Like, it's not magical, but it just doesn't have all the crap added to it, and it's been filtered, and your body can use it. And because even water, it's not all water is created equal, right?
No. And when people say, oh, well, I grew up drinking out of the hose, that's when I'm just like, well, would you drink out of a mud puddle? Right. Probably not. So no, obviously all water is not created equal. Right. And water dies. Like, you got to think about that too,
Oh, well, that's what I was just getting ready to say. I think one of my other biggest pet peeves that makes my head explode, I swear to God, you should just spend a day around me and watch how many times a day my head goes. There she goes again. But Whole Foods, like, right, you've got your RO dispenser. You know what needs to be sitting next to that RO dispenser? Liquid minerals. And it needs to be said, these need to be added back to your water, because guess what, folks? You're drinking dead water that's been stripped of everything, which actually makes it more acidic. So now your body actually has to pull minerals from your teeth and your bones and your hair to counteract that acidity that you got from drinking water, right? Where all you have to do is add a little bit of trace minerals back to that RO water. Boom, you're good. But yeah, next to every RO dispenser, they should have liquid minerals, and they should have some sort of an explanation. And it drives me bonkers that it doesn't.
That's a really good point too, because people don't really even realize, because then there's all this water out there too that says it's alkaline and it's in plastic, and there's these things that I'm just like, okay, if you actually did an alkalinity test, you would find out. No, false advertising right there. And then also the plastic. So it's like, people don't realize how important it is to have quality water. If you're going to do one thing for yourself, quality water.
Amen. 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 Amen.
Like, that's where I spend my money, is quality water.
Well, that Berkey that I got, it was actually my husband gave it to me for Valentine's Day a couple years ago. And I still, like, every year when it pops up on my Facebook memories, I'm like, best Valentine's Day gift ever, but that's just me. But when you spent your life miserable and suffering, right? I mean, 2 times to the psych ward for trying to kill myself. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was in some very dark, horrible places, and to be given this gift again of vitality, of life, of my brain working, of my body working, like, yeah, I kind of geek out when it comes to, getting Berkeys for Valentine's Day.
Well, I love the idea of, you giving hope to other people as well, that first of all, you're living proof that you don't have to survive the day.
Oh gosh.
You can actually thrive and be happy. It could be as simple as changing your water, changing your diet, changing your lifestyle. It doesn't have to involve a bunch of chemicals. It doesn't have to involve a bunch of, antidepressants, surgeries, all of these things that like, yeah, like I had a friend his bladder was supposed to be taken out when he was like 20, and his wife, one of my best friends, is like, no, we're going to heal this on our own. And they did.
Like, you kind of need that. Hello.
I know, he was like 20 something. My goodness.
That's horrible. Oh, that's criminal.
It really is. It really is. But I just want to talk a little bit more about, you have this program coming up. Is this the best way to reach you for that? Or is there, I'm not trying to think
my email. Yes, that's perfect.
Yeah. So if somebody's interested, they can reach out via email and just say, hey, I want to be a part of your 90-day program.
Correct. So it's funny. I'm working with a business coach, and we're talking about the launch, but I haven't quite gotten to the piece of like what it looks like when we launch. I know there's going to be a discount during that 1 week of the launch period. So I think it's like 20% off the normal price.
Nice.
Yeah. So big discount there. But yeah, that would probably be the best bet, would be to email me. And then we have a consultation, because, I need to see that we're a good fit both ways, right? Because it's actually a pretty exclusive. I only take 3 to 4 clients a month, because this program is different. It's high touch, it's high value, it's high accountability. It's not all automated. It's not, like I said, hand somebody a bunch of supplements and pat them on the head and send them on the way home. Like, I am truly here for you and holding your hand for the next 90 days. And to do that and to have the bandwidth, I can only take so many people on at a time.
And, and this is, as a coach, I have to say too, a lot of the time, and the checking out to see if it works both ways is extremely important, because a lot of people hire coaches, and a lot of people hire people, like health practitioners, expecting them to do everything. And like, just hiring somebody is going to be enough. But if you're trying to change your life, you actually have to change your life. You can't just keep doing what you've been doing and expect it to be different. So, I think that that's really important, because not everybody is quite ready yet.
Right. And that's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's okay. There's no shame. That's not a put down. It's just, why waste time? Why waste money? Why waste if you're not ready yet? It doesn't mean you won't be at some point, but I like the idea of making sure that, hey, you know what? I think I can help you.
Well, I absolutely know I can, but yeah. Are you ready to put into the work?
You can help, but are they going to help themselves?
Exactly.
I
got burnt out when I first graduated back in 2013, because back then I was still, I am still a huge empath, but after a lot of this work that I've done with my nervous system over the last year, I've been able to gauge it better and not, be ruling me so much, and not getting sucked into other people's stuff, which can be really hard for a coach, right? Because most of us are here because we love people and we want to see, no more suffering and blah, blah, blah. So when I first graduated, I didn't know how to separate that energy. And there were so many people that were so freaking sick, but they weren't willing to do the work, right? I wanted it more than them. And it burnt me out so bad, like really quickly, because it was just, like trying to, lead a horse to water, that was just butts down in the ground, and I'm dragging them. And I'm like, and so I decided this time around, I'm like, like you meet me halfway, and you show up and you do the work, and we'll work together. But like, I'll give you a few hints of like, hey, you need to make your appointment. Hey, how come you haven't watched your videos? I'll get there. And if there's something going on, obviously I'm not touch a hard ass that I'm like, put the hammer down, right? I get that life happens, but But
you're not a gut Nazi.
Yeah, gut Nazi. But if you're not showing up, like, it's not, I want you to get better. Absolutely. That's why I do this work, but I'm not so attached to the expectations that I'm going to kill myself, right, to get you better.
Yeah.
You got to show up and do the work.
Exactly. There's two things that my boyfriend's a personal trainer. So am I as well. But there's two things that we always say. One is we can't do your push-ups for you. And the other one is we'll meet you at your level of commitment. That's because we've both been like, you could, over, right. Like you said, just dragging people along. But first of all, that doesn't work. So what's the point? Just wears you out, like you said. Now, you said something that I'm not sure everybody's familiar with, and that's empath. Could you explain what that means?
Just really sensitive to and sensitive to people's energies, so like an empath, especially with what's going on in the world and like the Ukraine right now, big, massive struggle and heartbreak has a tendency to kick an empath's butt. It's an energy drain. Full moons, we're just a lot more tapped in and sensitive. And actually a lot of that, they're finding out, research is showing that people who have early childhood trauma have a tendency to be more on that empathic style. So it's that kind of survival system that we had to grow up with to be really hyper aware of our surroundings and the people around us just to survive. But then as we get older, we can't turn that off anymore. And so now, when I used to, if a girlfriend or my kid or somebody was having a bad day, I didn't know how to separate my energy from them, and they would just suck me right down with them.
Yeah. And I would say too, at least my experience has been, or it was before I figured it out, was like, I would feel other people's feelings if they were my own.
Yes. Yes. I had a really tough time with that one. Oh my gosh. So much work around that one. I'm like, wait, that doesn't even belong to me.
I know. I'm like, why am I? Oh, okay.
That's my mother.
Yeah. Where did this come from? Oh, yeah. No, I think that's a really good point because, a lot of empathic people too, you're too sensitive. And then all of a sudden you're not allowed to talk about that either. And, I think that it's not a bad thing. It's just something that you've got to learn how to live with it and work with it and, not let it affect you negatively. So, but I just want to take the stigma out of that and not make it be like you're too sensitive. Cause you know what, if
that's like a gaslighting sentence right there.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody starts to bring that out anymore, I shut them down immediately. I'm like, I am entitled to my feelings. Your experience,
I don't want yours.
Exactly. I'm like, do not tell me how to feel.
Yeah, exactly. It's like telling somebody to calm down. Does that really work?
Has it ever worked in the history? You just need to calm down. I'm like, calm down. I'll show you calm.
Yeah.
It's almost like
I'm like, all right, Mama Bear's coming out. Oh my goodness. But anyway, we're running low on time. I'm just curious. We've touched on and we haven't even gotten in deep into anything, but, I wanted to go back to sleep a little bit. You talked about like the blue lights and the green lights and, not having maybe the cell phones right next to your head. Do you recommend like a sleep routine or anything like that? Just to like get your body used to, okay, now it's time.
Yeah, absolutely. I tell everybody. So ideal sleep is actually between the hours of 10 p.m. and 4 a.m. So, and the reason I say that is there's certain things that happen at night and only when you're asleep. And so if you're up, if you stay up till midnight, you've actually missed 2 hours in that prime window of usually some sort of detox, your liver, your brain. So yeah, between 10 and 4. So then you'll start your sleep hygiene routine around 9, right? So I tell people if they, especially in the beginning to get them trained, if they need a little bit of melatonin, which is a phenomenal, they're finding out antioxidant.
I didn't know that.
These days. Oh, absolutely. So a little bit of melatonin, some 5-HTP, some GABA, right? I'll take that all an hour before I go to bed. I'll put my blue blocking glasses on an hour before I go to bed. I make sure that my thermometer in the house is set to go down an hour before I go to bed, because optimal sleeping temperature is around 68 degrees. Because if you think about it, when the sun goes down, what else goes down? The temperature.
That makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, temperature needs to come down, light needs to come down, stimulus needs to come down. So get off your phones, get off the laptops, any kind of stimulation. Reading is best. Like I said, we watch TV, but I've got all the lights off and I've got my blue blocking glasses on, and the TV's far enough away.
And I'm guessing it's not the news.
No, exactly. No, nothing's stimulating at all. Are you kidding? Like I said, I'm not kidding when I say that I research all frickin' day. So I wake up with this on my brain. And so that last hour, I'm just something stupid, mindless, take me away for a little bit, it's like calm everything down. But yeah, so those are some of the tips. Make sure your room is really, really dark. Like you really don't want to be able to see your hand in front of your face, like that dark. And sleep masks are really helpful if you can't get all the light out. But it's best to get all the light out because, like I said, again, our skin actually absorbs light too. So if you do have light coming from, a lamp or something outside your room and you've got it shining in, that could be not allowing you to go to that full REM, that full deep sleep that you need. It could just be keeping you in a different level.
Oh, fascinating.
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah. Just those tips right there, like really, really change up the sleep game. Well, and my favorite hack right now is a castor oil pack that you can actually wear at night. I love it. And it helps with sleep, and it also helps with shit. So it's like that twofer.
Twofer.
Yeah. It's like, woohoo. But yeah, that has been hugely amazing to help with people's sleep too. So yeah.
That's amazing. I love that. What else was I going to ask? I'm just kind of curious too, like what your thoughts are. I mean, actually, you know what? We don't have that much time left, so I'm not even going to ask that question. I was going to ask you about plastic, but that's like a whole.
Oh gosh, yeah. If you want to have me back, we could do a whole. I'm actually in the middle of making a whole webinar right now on toxins and how it affects your body and your brain, because it's such a huge topic. Oh my gosh, have you seen the documentary, The Devil That We Know?
No, I haven't. Oh,
I
have to watch it.
It's about Teflon and our nonstick cookware.
Oh, yes. I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it yet.
Oh my gosh. The first 15 minutes of it, I was pissed and I was crying, and I pretty much stayed that way through the whole thing. But
well, we have about 1 minute left. I would love for you to share any last thoughts for the audience, with the audience.
No matter how common a symptom may be, it is never normal. Right? It is always your body's check engine light coming on and saying there is something going on in here. And sadly, if you don't address it, you'll end up with diabetes, with cancer, with, me, who had 3 or 4 autoimmune diseases before I finally said, okay, time to get off this medical merry-go-round and get some answers. So that would be the one thing I'd love for people to, no matter how common a symptom may be, it is never normal.
Oh, thank you. Common does not equal normal. That is such a good point. Well, Heather, I just want to say thank you so much for being on the show today. And I absolutely would love to have you back, because I feel like we just barely scratched the surface on so many different topics that we could dive deeper next time.
I would love to.
Awesome. Well, thank you again, and hope to see you again soon.
Sounds great. Thank you.
And unfortunately, that is all the time that we have for today, but we will be back soon. So until then, we will see you next time. Have a great week, everyone.